From the north side of the San Francisco Bay to Singapore, welcome to Urban X Real Talk Fitness Radio with your host, business owner, lecturer, author, master trainer, Tiaja. With over 30 years of experience in the health and fitness industry, he will challenge the fitness between your ears. So prepare your mind, body, and soul for the revolution of self-care, the evolution of fit, with real talk about real people, real health, real fitness, and the real deal behind our present illness culture. Real talk every time, all the time. Get weekly insights on how to shift your thinking, emoting, eating, training, hydrating, goal setting, and resting for you, the everyday athlete. You can cheat your fitness, but you can't steal your health flow. It's Tuesday, 9 a.m. Let's flow.
When I was growing up, there was a word my parents used to describe a person that carried themselves a certain way with distinction, and that word was class. I don't know what happened to that word. For instance, there was a time when it was assumed that our leaders possessed this characteristic if they had no other notable trait. Class was a coveted thing of import back then, but today, having class no longer seems to be sought after. I blame the long-running Simpsons for much of this, no, but in all seriousness, there is a correlation between what people are willing to tolerate as entertainment and subsequently what becomes normative behavior. Even something as trite and ubiquitous as the B word on network television speaks volumes about what passes as vulgarity or common language in modern vernacular. In a famous line from the 1939 film Gone with the Wind, starring Clark Gable and Vivian Leigh, Rhett Butler, played by Clark Gable, says as his last words to Scarlett O'Hara, Vivian Leigh, in response to her tearful question, "Where shall I go? What shall I do?" "Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn," thus crushing all hope that Scarlett can win him back. Prior to the film's release, censors objected to the use of the word damn in the film, a word that had been prohibited by the 1930 Motion Picture Production Code. What a far cry from what we accept as common language today. And as if in a parallel universe or reality, there are words that were conventional back then that are censored today. Some for obvious reasons, like the N-word, but many others are puzzling, if not controversial. In computer science, there's a term, garbage in, garbage out, where flawed or nonsense input data produces nonsense output or garbage. The principle also applies more generally to analysis and logic in that arguments are unsound if their premises are flawed. Perhaps this is how we've arrived at this moment in our culture where garbage in is producing nonsensical, flawed output. How else can one explain the need for parental advisories and something as ethereal and as pure as music? Well, I'm sorry, I used another word that is also censored, if not extinct today. We don't use words like pure and class today because they collide with our newspeak. And what is newspeak? Newspeak is a newly formed cultural idiom created by corporate interests who do everything in their power to keep you vibrating at a frequency below 58 megahertz. That is, hovering at a vibrational frequency somewhere between sickness and death. Welcome to Urban X Real Talk Fitness Radio, where we challenge the fitness between your ears. I'm your host, Tiaja. The 8th strategy speaks candidly about complacency and mediocrity. I dealt with the topic of mediocrity last week in strategy number 7, so today I want to focus on the role complacency plays in our lives. Not just the complacency that is self-manufactured, but more to this topic, the complacency that is socially engineered into our education and workplace environments. Some of you have asked why I talk about social engineering so much. Well, let me ask you, have you ever become disengaged or stopped thinking or stopped taking initiative or stopped investing in yourself? Now, most of you would have to raise your hand. Some complacency is self-imposed, but there is a deeper root cause of such thing. It isn't abnormal to have some measure of complacency in your life, but when your life becomes a mockery of your own self-interest, then complacency can become a major stumbling block. Bear in mind, the human brain doesn't distinguish between a good habit or a bad one. It just learns through repetition of either. What we call burnout is not caused by working long hours or being tired of the nonsense or playing the political game. It's caused by competing for what one author called conspicuous consumption. You have been educated and socially engineered to be a consumer, and now your brain can no longer distinguish between what you want versus what you think you need to be happy and successful. 2018 will be just another year unless today you decide that it won't be. It is Tuesday, August 21st, 2018. Let's flow.
So what exactly is narcissism? The term gets used a lot, but what does it actually mean? So it really means having an inflated sense of self, being self-important. There is a clinical level disorder called NPD, narcissistic personality disorder. I'm only going to spend a tiny bit of time on that because we're going to concentrate mostly on narcissism as a personality trait among the normal population. So it's at a lower level, but more pervasive and thus more problematic. So what is the difference between self-esteem and narcissism? You can kind of think about it this way. Self-esteem is confidence. Narcissism is overconfidence. Do narcissists have low self-esteem or high self-esteem? Are they actually insecure deep down inside? It's one of the fascinating questions that's been asked for centuries, really. And we finally have some good answers on this. Well, if people fill out a self-esteem measure and a narcissism measure, the same type of people tend to score high on both. But maybe the narcissists are just saying that. Maybe deep down inside, they actually feel insecure and hate themselves. A theory that's been around for a while. We have great methods now in social psychology to look at whether this is true. Measures of implicit self-esteem. So you can match, looking at reaction time, words like me and I with words like bad and good. Well, when you do that, it turns out, deep down inside, narcissists think that they're awesome. They have high self-esteem even when it's measured in this subtle way. But there is a really key difference between people who are high in self-esteem and those who are high in both self-esteem and narcissism, which is about caring and compassion, which you just heard a lot about. That's the key difference, because both types of people, yeah, they want to achieve things in their life, but the high self-esteem folks also place a lot of importance on their relationships. And the people high in narcissism are pretty willing to say, yeah, caring, compassion, not really my thing, not my bag. So here's just a couple of things. You know, narcissism is such a multifaceted personality trait. It's one of the things that makes it fascinating. So it relates to a lot of areas of people's lives. So the essential part is that thing. You have what it is, and then what the narcissist would say, I am uniquely awesome. It includes entitlement, thinking that you deserve special treatment. I can do anything. There's the relationships with others, and this is where it becomes more problematic, that I'll do whatever it takes to get ahead. And look at me for doing it. And that doesn't come out of insecurity. That comes out of, I truly am awesome. Why aren't you looking at me? Why am I not getting the attention of the world that I deserve? It's that type of idea. And then in interacting with others, there's the lack of empathy and aggression, especially after being insulted. And materialism is another correlate. Have you ever seen one of those bumper stickers, usually on a sports car belonging to a middle-aged balding man, that says, whoever dies with the most toys wins? Well, that's the idea. So here's a couple of images from our culture that show how narcissism shows up in so many different places. So Twitter can be great, but in some cases, do we really need to know every single thought you have, every second you have it? Then we have reality television. We have the lovely Kardashian sisters here, because reality television stars have actually proven this with data, are high in narcissism. Are we shocked by this? No. But these are the shows that are very popular. They're supposed to show a slice of real life, and what they actually do is make narcissism seem normal and even laudable, and that this is the way to live your life. Here we have one of the people who started this trend in reality TV, Paris Hilton, wearing a shirt with Paris Hilton on it. Yeah. After she got out of jail, she said she was going to become a humanitarian. That worked out well. We have Dr. 90210 here with breast implants. So plastic surgery rates have gone through the roof in the last 10 years. Then this glimmering thing here, that is a Bling brand pacifier. So you bring your child home from the hospital, and she has to have her bling right away, and of course it has a crown on it, because she's a princess, even though, of course, she is not. Because unless you're William and Kate, your children are not royalty. Get over it. that's a McMansion right there. The recession, which we're still digging our way out of in the United States, how did it begin? It began with the mortgage meltdown of people buying houses they couldn't afford, the bankers who wrote those loans, the investment bankers who said, oh, those mortgage-backed securities, they'll be fine. Housing never goes down. In one word, if you wanted to sum up what happened there, overconfidence would be a pretty good word. Now, I don't think everybody participating in this was narcissistic per se, but it was a system built on overconfidence. And the problem is reality always wins in the end, and sadly, it did. Then for the last, we have fights on YouTube. Well, high school students, teenagers have always fought. The new twist now is to put it on YouTube and get attention for your aggression. Of course, law enforcement loves this because then you have filmed your crime. Speaking of overconfidence. Then there's my favorite example of narcissism in our current culture, which is that it is now possible to hire fake paparazzi to follow you around when you go out at night. I am not making this up. Here's one of the sites that'll do it. They say they'll ask questions, vie for coverage, shout your name, everything you have seen on TV and want to experience for yourself. At the end of the night, you can go home with the pictures on the cover of a fake celebrity magazine. Is your mom's birthday coming up? Yeah? Or better yet, your grandma? Who will have no idea why somebody's taking pictures of her. Will probably fall down and break her hip. So don't do it. Don't do it. Just in case you're wondering if I just plucked out the songs that fit the pattern and that there were songs in previous eras that also fit the pattern, sure, there were. But maybe not on average. So I teamed up with some colleagues to look at this in the song lyrics. We fed them into this computer program that codes for words, the top 10 songs since 1980. And we looked at the occurrence of these words. So this is just on average, and we centered in between. So I, me, and mine, it's all about me, sure enough, has gone way up in song lyrics. What about that more inclusive language? We and us. Nope. That's gone down. Social words about, say, love and caring and so on. Not a good picture. And then antisocial words about aggression or swear words or hurting people. That has gone up. So, and you can eyeball this when you just look at the lyrics. The songs from the early 80s, boy, were they cheesy. And boy, were they repetitive. But they were all about love and caring and connection. And then near the end, what you get instead is, say, Carrie Underwood talking about how she's going to break the windshield of her former boyfriend so he'll think the next time before he cheats. You also get Justin Timberlake, who is single-handedly going to bring sexy back. So what effect has this had on individuals? Done a bunch of studies on this. I'm going to show you just a few. This one is about 25,000. I have it's university students. And these are people who filled out the narcissistic personality inventory at some point between 1982 and 2009. So this is gathered from other researchers who use college students for their own purposes in research studies, and they filled out this inventory. So this was perfect for me at the time to do this project. I was about 7 months pregnant and couldn't do a whole lot but sit at my desk. So gathering all of these research reports, going through thousands of articles was a perfect fit. So here's a few items from this scale so you can get an idea for how it measures narcissism. There's 40 items on the whole scale. I'm just going to show you 5 as some sampling to see how it works. If I ruled the world, it would be a better place. I love that one because there's always a few people who smile and laugh and the rest of the room is going, why is that funny? Of course it would be. I can live my life any way I want to. I think I am a special person. I like to be the center of attention. I have a natural talent for influencing people, so there's some manipulativeness in the trait as well. Okay, so here's on average how these scores have changed among university students in the US since the 80s. So there's a pretty clear linear increase over time. Now, how big is that change? That's a very fair question. On average, it's not huge. It's moderate in statistical terms. But I think a great way to look at it is to ask what percentage answered the majority of the items in the narcissistic direction. Well, in the early 80s, that was about 17%. And by 2009, it was 30%. So I think that's a very interesting number, because what it means is even at the later time, you're not getting the majority of people who are that narcissistic, even at that younger age. You're getting about 1 out of 3. But it's still about twice as many as you got earlier. And that makes sense because, and it is consistent with people's experience, because those are the ones who end up in your office. Whether you're a faculty or a manager or a parent for that matter, those are the people who are going to cause the problems for you. So it makes it look even more noticeable, even though they're still the minority.
Now here are my 2 cents, and feel free to keep the change. In his book, Rediscovering Values, author Jim Wall cites a study conducted by Dr. Jean Twin and Dr. W. Kenneth Campbell from their book, The Narcissism Epidemic, Living in the Age of Entitlement. In the book, Dr. Twin and Campbell examined data from 37,000 college students and found that since the 1980s, narcissistic personality traits rose just as fast as obesity. Now let that sink in for a moment. Mostly everyone is familiar with America's obesity epidemic, but here's a disease that is wreaking just as much havoc, if not more, on the general populace. But because it is a silent, invisible epidemic, no one seems to notice or care. By 2006, 1 in 4 college students showed above average narcissistic personality traits, agreeing with the majority of questions on the standard measure of narcissistic traits, a 30% increase from the early 1980s. 2/3 of the respondents on the 2006 test scored above the mean score in the 1970 through 1985 sample of the same test. Now, according to Dr. Twin, it doesn't take much to stoke the flames of our vanity, and billions of dollars in advertising revenues are spent every year to do it. Promoting conspicuous consumption, as mentioned in the previous chapter, advertisers tell us that if we buy their products, everyone will know how special we are, how smart we are, how beautiful we are, and how rich we are. One jewelry advertisement encouraged the expensive accessories because you can't wear your corner office out at night. Narcissism is beyond a healthy self-esteem, just like hubris is far beyond a basic understanding of self-interest. As a father, I believe it is important to say to my children, believe in yourself and you are special. Make no mistake, I do believe in my 2 girls and think they are special, and it's not narcissism for them to know it. What is narcissistic, however, and what is harming our culture is when our children or adults believe they are exceptional, not through any achievement or notable talent, but because they believe they should be. Dr. Twin goes on to say, the problems come when I am special turns into I am an exception. When I believe in myself becomes I do not believe in others. Technology has allowed for the creation and sharing of new information at levels never seen before in human history. So if Facebook were a country, it would be the 4th largest country in the world, right after the United States and ahead of Indonesia. There's something inherently wrong with that, especially given the fact that Facebook doesn't have to provide public education, housing, clean water or air, culture, or equality of life for its 1 billion plus citizens, users. You know, I once heard a joke on the internet which said that the only 2 entities that consider people users are drug dealers and corporations. When we allow ourselves to be used, whether by drug dealers, internet companies, corporate America, or people in general, our brains can't tell the difference, and thus there will be conflict. The deeper, more spiritual side of us will know we're being used, and therefore such conflict will spill ultimately over into all of our relationships in the virtual world or the real one. Not only our relationships with others, but also our relationship with ourselves. Dear friends, I wish above all things that you prosper just as your soul prospers. You've been listening to Urban X Real Talk Fitness Radio with your host Tiaja. If you like the content we bring each week, then follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, Snapchat, as well as any of your other favorite social media. And while you're at it, hit that subscribe button or download our app at tiajae.podbean.com. I'm also proud to share with you my latest podcast and YouTube channel titled T's Universe. It's already catching fire, and trust me when I say it's unlike anything you've heard before. Check it out every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. It's 5 minutes or so, that's guaranteed to change your life. And don't forget to stop through our website at www.urbanxfitness.net, where you will find our online stores, the Urban Experience Fit Stores 1 and 2. There you can download our unique home and gym workouts, dietary menus, as well as purchase some outrageously bold teas and spark your own revolution of self-care. Also, check out our small library of my hand-picked, personally endorsed nutritional products. Got it? Okay, then get it. Until next week, as always, walk in health and peace.